Good morning, staff, students, old girls and 2015 high achievers, and welcome to today's assembly. This year marks the centenary of Perth College Mount Lawley campus. Over the past 100 years, the grounds have continually changed, adapting to the eras. As you know, the Senior Learning Building is the school's latest development, providing a modern resource for future use. Although there have been various changes to the Perth College campus, it still remains true to the vision of the founding sisters, to provide a supportive environment that encourages girls to reach their full potential. Similarly, the one thing that all the people in this theatre have in common is this school. Whether you've attended in the past or are still a student, Perth College has had a significant impact on all of us. It's the place where we've spent our schooling years and created so many lifelong memories and strong friendships. It's such an amazing opportunity to be able to celebrate this bond today. Just as the grounds continue to develop, so do the students, becoming the well-rounded and respectable young women. Each girl that has entered the PC community has contributed to the culture and atmosphere of the school, and has given something that is truly unique. And this is an amazing opportunity to celebrate the stories of the PC girls, both old and new. In addition, we welcome back some of the 2015 leavers who have achieved fantastic ATAR results. On behalf of everyone here today, I would like to congratulate you for this amazing achievement. You should be incredibly proud of your efforts, and I wish you luck for all of your future endeavours. Once again, thank you all for coming and celebrating the centenary of the Mount Lawley campus with us. I would now like to invite forward the sacristans to lead us in prayer.
Please bow your heads. Dear God, we thank you for giving our school the firm foundation it needed to flourish all things true and pure. We thank you for giving our teachers and staff the compassion, spirit, and determination needed to provide an education for generations of girls at our school. We are blessed and grateful to have girls old and new who were and are able to enjoy an education which teaches your grace and love and provides them with a wealth of opportunities in the future. We pray that our school can continue to do so for many generations to come.
As we celebrate 100 years of Perth College being located at this campus, may we reflect on the sisters who founded this school and be thankful that along with the original architecture, their legacy and compassion for the students have carried through the generations. As we walk through the classrooms and the courtyards, may we be reminded of the rich heritage that comes with each brick and nail. We pray that you will help us to preserve this campus and weather it through another 100 years for future students to cherish. In your name we pray, Amen.
Thank you, girls, and thank you to Claire, who is our head girl for 2016 and already well into all of the activities and responsibilities of being head girl. Good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you to this really special assembly as we celebrate. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our 2015 leavers who are sitting on stage behind me as we recognise their outstanding performance in their Year 12 results. They are the highest achievers at Perth College for 2015, and I thank these girls for returning to the school this morning. Can we please welcome them? I'd also like to welcome our old girls, both young and slightly older, who have joined us this morning to help celebrate 100 years of outstanding education on this wonderful campus here in Mount Lawley. I look forward to celebrating the multiple generations of girls that have attended Perth College and look forward to hearing some stories. And girls, our current girls, I hope you're all looking forward to hearing some of the stories that we hear from some of our guest speakers on stage, and I welcome them and thank them most sincerely for giving up their time and sharing some of those stories with us today. But first, we are very proud of our 2015 leavers who all graduated and many of them achieved personal excellence and all have exciting options for the future. The 10 girls I will introduce shortly have been able to join us as part of a group of girls who performed outstandingly in their WACE exams to receive impressive results, with many finishing in the top 1% of the state, or they may also have been recognised by the School Curriculum and Standards Authority for receiving A grades at school in all of the subjects that they studied. They can be incredibly proud of their achievements, which has come from having an excellent work ethic, having confidence, ambition, independence and determination to do their best. These results and the skills that they've gained from school have really opened up their opportunities for the future. Their attitude and spirit are traits of this wonderful school and has long been encouraged in more than 13,000 students in the 113 years that Perth College has been operating. These traits were evident in the sisters who founded Perth College back in 1902, and in 1916 they opened this Mount Lawley campus with 156 names on the register, growing from just 32 students back in 1902. I often wonder whether Sister Rosalie, Sister Susanna and Sister Vera dared to dream that Perth College would become the school it is today. Perth College was the largest structure of the Mount Lawley estate when it was built in 1915 on an empty parcel of land. And girls, for many of you, you will see that if you wander into the big quad today, you will see that there's been many photos being put up around the walls of the big quad of times from years ago of what the campus used to look like. And I encourage you to wander through that area today and have a look at what the building actually looked like. The La rooms, the third story, wasn't there. It was a very simple and very modest building, but the biggest in Mount Lawley of its day. Mount Lawley was nothing like the suburb we know today. Perth College was a major facility for the district, drawing much interest across the eastern suburbs. From modest beginnings, the school flourished, surviving the war years and challenging financial times in the late 60s and early 70s. Many Perth College girls have pioneered roles for women and made significant contributions to the community, the state and country across generations. In some cases, up to 5 generations of families have attended Perth College. Today we are joined by over 100 old girls who have a current connection to Perth College, whether that be a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece or another relative enrolled in the school this year. We are so privileged to have such a rich heritage and legacy in our school. As part of this celebration, we invited our old girls to share the memories of their time at Perth College. And for me, it's been amazing to read some of those stories, and I know we will hear plenty from our guest speakers as well. We have been inundated with messages who were from old girls that were only too happy to relive their times at Perth College. For example, Judith Allen, who attended Perth College from 1953 to 1956, says hair had to be cut above the collar, and if you wanted to have long hair, you had to seek permission to keep it, but it had to be plaited. Can you imagine, girls? And Judith says the boarders were not allowed to phone home. They needed special permission to call their parents. How did they survive, I wonder? Those of you who enjoy iPhones, and I know lots of the girls have a phone of their own, would also be horrified that Lydia Goody had to listen to tape recordings and watch videos on TV sets that were pushed around on trolleys. Students didn't have ready access to teachers via email and would have to discuss issues in person. And this wasn't really so long ago. Lydia only left just over 25 years ago. Now, Steph Fullerton, who was a 1979 leaver, remembers girls used to walk between classes with blankets wrapped round them. The classrooms back then weren't air-conditioned or heated, they were very cold. Steph also says assemblies used to be held every day, except for a Wednesday. Now we only hold them on Wednesdays. One comment shared by many 1963 leavers was the pool. While the first at a school in Western Australia, and positioned very differently as it is today, and highly regarded, was a murky brown. And when they had to dive for a brick, they could barely see it. If that was the case today, I wonder actually whether our girls would even get in the pool or swim. I don't think so. I look forward to hearing from this group of old girls who have agreed to step on stage and tell some stories. But for now, I turn my attention to our newest old girls so that we can celebrate the achievements of them individually and the achievements of 2015 leavers. Today, we have 10 of our outstanding scholars present. In 2015, our leavers gained a median 8R score of 84.1, and that's putting them in the top 15%. So over 50% of our girls finished in the top 15% of the state. And we had 11 girls finish in the top 1% of the state, and 53 girls finish in the top 10% of the state. All girls had numerous options, with the majority following the tertiary pathway. Some girls have taken up traineeships, work, or are planning to take a gap year prior to commencing study. We have had girls achieve excellence in many areas and have received early offers across many universities, and I'd like to share just a few with you. If I can find the right piece of paper. Here we go. We have girls like Georgie Wilkie, who has taken on a traineeship down in Augusta before she decides to go to university. We've had Charlotte Fu and Isabella Criddle be selected to have their artwork displayed in the Perspectives Art exhibition for outstanding art students. We also had Bella Marsland audition for the Performance Perspectives concert, which is just the very few top students in the performing arts. We also had Maddie Parsons, Zoe Hoffman and Renee O'Connor selected for the Northern Perspectives exhibition, which is an outstanding achievement. We had several girls in Georgia Horton, Sophia Kenner, receive early offers from Notre Dame, along with many others. We had Matilda Turbio, who was selected to and accepted to study at WAPA. We had Stephanie Gertz, who won a scholarship to Bond University to study law and international relations, majoring in Chinese studies. And we had Nina Horrib, who accepted an Edith Cowan University scholarship for students who demonstrated academic excellence, endeavour and leadership and commitment to the school. So fantastic outcomes and fantastic results. Some of the girls that weren't able to attend but also finished as scholars at Perth College are Amy Laird. She finished in the top 1% and received a certificate of commendation for the A's that she received at school. She's off to the University of Melbourne and will be studying a Bachelor of Biomedicine. She's looking at majoring in biochemistry and molecular biology. She is going to be living at one of the colleges over in Melbourne as well. Sophia Kane, who's currently overseas, has deferred her placements at ANU and UWA as she's applied to UCL in London to do a Bachelor of Arts and Science degree, so she's waiting to hear for that to come through. And she also finished in the top 5% and received a certificate of commendation as well. So fantastic achievements. Now I'd like to move on to the girls that are actually current, and we would like to make a special presentation to them. So it's with pleasure that I introduce our scholars for 2015. I'm actually going to ask them, as I talk about them, to come up and just stand here beside me. So Rebecca, would you like to come up please? Rebecca finished in the top 1% of the state. She received a certificate of distinction for English and a certificate of commendation. Rebecca will be studying a double degree at the Australian National University, a Bachelor of Laws and a Bachelor of Politics, Philosophy and Economics. Rebecca was selected as one of 70 members of the ANU National Scholars Program, focusing on leadership training and with a scholarship attached. A fantastic achievement, and we congratulate you, Rebecca. Can we please congratulate you? Victoria Meadows. Victoria finished in the top 1% of the state. She also received a certificate of distinction for modern history and a certificate of commendation. Victoria is staying closer to home. She's going to University of Western Australia to do a Bachelor of Science, probably a double major. Still working that out, I think. So we look forward to hearing all of your excellent work that you'll be doing in the coming years, Victoria, and we congratulate you most wholeheartedly for your achievements. Thank you. Imogen Graham. Imogen also finished in the top 1% of the state and received a certificate of commendation. She's going to be studying a Bachelor of Science at UWA, majoring in Engineering Science, with an assured pathway into the Masters of Professional Engineering. We wish her very well, and she's also been awarded a scholarship to study engineering as well. So we congratulate you, Imogen, and wish you all the very best. Adele Lansky. Adele also finished in the top 1% of the state and received a certificate of commendation, and she's going to be studying a double major in economics and accounting at UWA, and we wish her all the very best with that. The next person is Erica Luck. Erica finished in the top 1% of the state and received a certificate of commendation too. Erica has received a Sydney Scholars Award from the University of Sydney and accepted an early offer to study a Bachelor of Engineering Honours Advanced Engineering course there. She also received scholarship offers from UWA and Monash, but she's off to Sydney, so we wish her all the very best for her time away. Person is Lauren Reaston Stewart, who was Dux of Perth College. Lauren also finished in the top 1% of the state and received a certificate of commendation. Lauren actually hasn't decided exactly which university she's going to study at. She is still deciding between offers that she's received from Bath and Southampton, or whether it'll be Melbourne to study engineering, but slightly different fields of engineering. So we wish Lauren all the very best as she makes this decision, and no matter where she ends up in the world, I'm sure that she will do extremely well. We wish you all the very best. Now, Kate Dowden. Kate is also one of our boarders from 2015. Kate finished in the top 5% of the state and received a certificate of commendation. She's going to stay closer to home but do a Bachelor of Science at the University of Western Australia, where she's also received an assured pathway into medicine. So she's got a few years of study ahead of her, but I know it'll be incredibly rewarding, and we wish you all the very best, Kate. My apologies, Laura. Laura, please come up. Laura, who has many talents, including her beautiful voice, finished in the top 1% of the state and also received a certificate of commendation, which is outstanding. Laura is actually off to pursue her passion at WAPA to complete a Bachelor of Music in Performance to further her classical voice studies. And I know that she will do that with great finesse and great passion, and I know that she'll have a fantastic time. So we wish you all the very best as you pursue your passion. Hannah Duncan-Kemp. Hannah finished in the top 10% of the state, but also received a certificate of commendation for her marks at school. She's actually going to be studying ballet full-time, as well as studying commerce part-time at the University of Western Australia. She also has a passion. She managed to do all of that excellent work while balancing some incredible number of hours of rehearsals in ballet. I think it was about 15 hours, was it roughly? Around 15 hours a week through year 12, which is an incredible thing to do and requires extreme determination. So we wish you all the very best, Hannah, and with both your studies, but with also pursuing your passion in ballet. So congratulations. And finally, Vanessa Coots. Vanessa finished in the top 1% of the state and can be really proud of her achievements. She's going to take a gap year this year to work and to travel, but has accepted a place at UWA to do law, and I know that she'll do a great job. and she'll be a very good lawyer someday, I'm sure, from our experience. But we wish Vanessa all the very best, and it's great to see you achieve so well, so congratulations. Thank you, and it's now with pleasure that I invite Rebecca to introduce our music night.
I'd now like to welcome the UK Choir to the stage. This choir from Year 7 recently took part in a performance tour of the UK. During their time abroad, they sang and worshipped the sisters of the community of the church in Ham Common, to an audience that included the worldwide leaders of the Salvation Army, 4 services at Chester Cathedral, and even songs at both York Minster and Westminster Abbey. The piece selected to be performed today is entitled Noongar Alleluia. It is a short, uplifting work about the beauty and spirituality of the Australian landscape, as viewed by the Noongar people, the traditional people of southwest Western Australia. After the choir, we will enjoy a PowerPoint presentation celebrating 100 years on the Mount Lawley campus. Good morning, everyone. My name is Margot, and I'm going to take you back to 1986 when my mum was a Year 12 at PC. First of all, we wouldn't be sitting in this theatre right now. We would be in the St Michael's Hall, which is now where the art department stands. They had 2 school hats, the white summer hat and a winter beret, which I hear was used as a frisbee by the annoying Trinity boys on the bus. Nothing's changed there. Although they didn't have PLDs to do their schoolwork on, they did learn to type on manual typewriters. The camps back then were nowhere near as torturous as our camps, and apparently St Michael's Day was a picnic with games. Flash forward 30 years, and what hasn't changed is the spirit and atmosphere at PC. The values and morals held by the school have stayed the same, and that's what makes PC so special. I would now like to introduce Judith Allen and Colleen Johnson, both old girls with 4 generations of girls at PC. Judith attended Perth College from 1958 to 1960. After leaving PC, she worked on St George's Terrace for 8 years before marrying in 1968. She and her husband then developed a new land farm in Dandaragan, as well as a contract rehabilitation business in an adjacent mine, all while raising a family. Throughout her life, Judith has served on many committees throughout the region, most of which have been associated with sport. Judith is still a very active bowls player, and we are very thankful she has managed to somehow juggle it all to fit in coming down to Perth to speak to us today. Judith's daughter Colleen is another PC old girl. She boarded at PC from 1984 to 1988 and was head sacristan in her final year. Upon leaving PC, she completed a Bachelor of Arts in Education, but then graduated to go to the mines and drive dump trucks. Colleen then travelled overseas, worked as a primary school teacher, and married a local farmer in Dandaragan. She has 2 daughters, both of whom are PC girls. Daughter Emily was head boarder in 2013, and Amber is currently in Year 12 and serves on the boarding exec. Like her mum, Colleen is actively involved in the Dandaragan community, serving on committees, running the farm, and somehow squeezing in teaching and supervising uni students on their pracs. We are proud to welcome Colleen and Judith to talk about their time at PC, and not only what has changed, but also what has stayed the same. Can we please make them feel welcome?
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I just sang a very few words of Perth College in the era of the Sisters of the Church, and in a few words, the impact it has had on my life. The sisters instilled a strict code of discipline, but I believe it was that discipline that built self-worth and inner strength. It all started with the uniform, a code that was rigidly imposed, a hat and gloves in summer and a beret and gloves in winter. Being a day student, I had to catch a tram and bus home to Floreat. As soon as we got on the tram on a hot day, the hat and gloves would come off. But then 2 or 3 stops down Beaufort Street, Sister Shirley would appear out of nowhere on the tram, and we were instantly convinced it wasn't such a good idea. Jenny, obviously the uniform discipline still prevails, as I have noticed how well presented the girls are and the pride they exude wearing their uniform, and it's so evident here today. Sister Shirley had that amazing capacity to walk into a room and without saying a word command complete silence. Art was one of my lighter subjects, and I will never forget a portrait session with Robert Juniper in the art studio, which was on the third floor, which was resulting in a few laughs around the room. Sister Shirley appeared at the door, and to this day, whether you were facing the door or not, I can still feel the presence and recall the total silence. There was no domestic science offered as a subject in my time at Perth College, as we were encouraged to follow a professional career. I never questioned the decision by my father to send me to business college and enjoyed my career life. But I was called into Sister Shirley's office to inquire why I wasn't going to university and to follow on with chemistry and physics, which I did enjoy. I have never regretted my career and have used the concepts of physics and chemistry to this day. What I am trying to say, that the encouragement of the sisters in Perth College and what they instilled in me, and inner strength over the years to tackle most things, and that has been the case. I promise you that I soon learnt to cook once I went to Dandaragan. I have watched my daughter and granddaughters grow through the same process of building self-esteem at Perth College, and although the boarding house and school portray a very welcoming feel through all the wonderful renovation, installation of facilities, as opposed to the Spartan linoleum with a statue in the front lobby, those same values still come through. Well done, Perth College.
My experience with Perth College began in 1994 when I climbed the old wooden staircase in the front foyer in the office and walked to my dorm full of strangers, the matrons or the housies, ruled with varying degrees of strictness. Nana Mary was a softie and could be gently worked upon. Mrs. Brain tiptoed through the hallways at night and went to great lengths to catch those naughty villains lurking around. I remember her removing her shoes at the dorm entry to gain a super stealthy lap of the corridor. That move wasn't quite executed on one night, as one of the more courageous girls in the dorm decided to hide her shoe so that when she came back they weren't there. I don't remember the outcome actually, so obviously it wasn't too detrimental. In Year 8, I shared a 10-bed dorm, and every year after that we returned to school with anticipation of where our room was and who would be near. We gradually went from dorm-style living to sharing rooms to single rooms. We also got unlimited supplies of Milo and toast with peanut paste just for being in Year 12. Moving up through the ranks was a privilege. As a mother of boarding students, the obvious changes have been the move from the dorm-style living, which was pretty cold, to the PC Hilton. The orientation process and chance to become familiar has already come ahead in leaps and bounds. I spent many quiet weekends swinging from the curtains while I was at boarding school. Now there are so many outings and opportunities to be involved. Through both my experience and that of my daughters, I feel the school has created a confident woman with common sense, and Miss Nick, yes, there was always common sense in her words.
School life was great. Many of my teachers had an influence on how I do things now. I cannot watch a movie without dissecting it Mrs. Drake's style. I get very excited about Russian history, thanks to Mrs. Christo's passion and delivery. I also enjoy cooking and wash my hands well, thanks to Mrs. Barsley and her hygiene. Yeah. The prep sessions in the library were good. They taught us to work effectively, and I also learnt to put my finger on my belly button when an ambulance went by. I don't know if people still do that, but that was some sort of good hope. I washed the family's dirty laundry with love because Affie did, and I'll always know that women woof whistling in public is very uncool, thanks to Mrs. Cottier. It was while I was travelling this road that I learnt to maintain my own beliefs, even if it meant taking the road less travelled. My experience in Year 12, delivering the welcome speech to the Archbishop of Canterbury in particular, working alongside Judith Cottier and Kay Goldsworthy, conditioned me to man up and embrace opportunity. I am eternally grateful to Perth College. It was, and it is, a great platform to grow. It's a chance to be daring, whilst remembering to tread with caution. It is a heritage I hold with pride. Girls, go forth and seize the day, but keep your head about you. Thank you.
On behalf of the PC community, we'd like to thank you, Judith and Colleen, for coming down and taking your time to talk to us. I know all the girls really appreciate all the stories you've told, so we've got a small gift of thanks for you.
Jenny Olma's connection to the school spans more than 100 years. Her grandmother first came to PC in 1914, and her two aunts, cousin and sister, were also students at Perth College. Mrs. Olma's personal relationship with PC is exactly 50 years this year. She was a student from 1966 to 1978 and captain of Baron in Year 12. In her second and third year of university, she coached the PC swimming team, and she completed her final practicum in the junior school. Former Principal Christopher Ellis gave Mrs. Olma her first appointment in 1982. She joined the junior school staff as the first specialist phys ed teacher. Apart from some time away when she went to Canada to live with her husband, and when her son was born in 1996, she has been a vibrant member of the Perth College staff. Her speech today is about the changes she has seen over that time.
Thanks, Linda, and good morning, everyone. Some of my photographs that I'm going to put up and some of the things I'm going to say my thunder's already been stolen a little bit, but the essence of it will be here. As Linda said, I've had a long history with Perth College, and I'm delighted to be sharing a few of my experiences with you. Just prior to my invitation to speak today, I had attended a lunch with some PC old girls. Coincidentally, we spent the whole day talking about Perth College and how much it had changed since we were students here. The first stage of my life at Perth College was when my parents enrolled me for kindergarten. Well, actually, that's not quite correct. It wasn't really my parents, but my aunt who enrolled me. My parents had just bought their first house and money was tight, so when they said I wouldn't be attending Perth College, she ran out, registered me and paid for my first year's tuition. There's a photo there of me. That's my first day. As you can see, lots of change, but not the uniform. In 1966, the junior school was located across the road in an old house. I remember my Year 7 classroom was in a large room, which would have been the lounge room and the dining room in the past. At recess and lunchtime, we used to play in the undercovered playground. Over the years, this structure has been fully enclosed and is now known as the pavilion. I had lots of fun growing up here, and one special memory is when they delivered little bottles of milk. We all raced to lick the cream off the bottle tops and drank the contents before the milk became too warm. In the 60s and the 70s, there was no gymnasium, no netball courts, and our oval was down the road at Copley Park. The land on which this building stands is where I learnt to play tennis. The tennis courts were also used as the venue for the end of year speech nights. There's been a number of wonderful improvements, but for me, the most important was the swimming pool. The original pool, as was said, was built in 1932 and was 25 yards. Perth College was very fortunate to have a pool, but they didn't have a sophisticated filtering system. And as was told, it often turned shades of brown and green. This meant lots of emptying and lots of refilling. On carnival days, you were lucky if the water was clear enough to swim in. As a competitive swimmer, it was often difficult to see more than an arm's length in front of you. I remember having to lift my head continuously to see how much further I had to go and where I was. Often I'd hit the end of the wall with my head rather than my hand. The next stage of my journey at Perth College was in 1982, when I returned as a newly graduated teacher. My first appointment was to be as half-time phys ed teacher and half-time classroom teacher. I only had 13 students in my first class. I loved coming to work each day and especially teaching in the new junior school, which had been built 2 years prior. I was, however, a little disappointed because the old tram had been demolished to make way for the new classrooms. In the past, this tram had been the staff room for the PE department, and it was a favourite place for students to hang with the cool teachers. At this time, the PE staff numbered 2.5, and I was the half. I believe the sports department now has 12 full-time staff members. This brings me to the next area in which I've seen tremendous change, the public's perception of PC. Perth College was initiated through the love and vision of 3 remarkable women. From humble beginnings, we grew, but the numbers of students remained small. When I began senior school, Miss Roberts was the headmistress. She was a bit scary. Actually, she was a lot scary. I've got so many stories about that one, but we'll leave that. Yes, it was. This was a time when there was less than 400 students that made both the junior and the senior school. Low enrolments made it difficult to be competitive with other independent girls' schools. I was a keen sportswoman, and we were often demolished in major competitions. At one particular inter-school swimming carnival, I remember the announcer saying, and of course, in last place, Perth College. The then newly appointed headmistress, Judith Allen, was not impressed. She made it a personal goal to see that Perth College not only improved in all areas of the sporting arena, but that our academic standard was also lifted. As we began to show an improved prowess, our numbers grew, and so did the community's awareness, and today we've become one of the most prestigious independent schools with an enrolment of over 1,100 students. People are amazed at the number of years that I've spent at Perth College. I truly love being here. It's like home for me. The buildings may have changed and the school's numbers may have grown, but the culture has remained. I'd like to finish with 2 quotes that resonate with me. The first is from Judith Allen, who said, "The sisters who founded Perth College were aware of building for prosperity. They believed in girls' education and the potential of women to achieve great things." My second quote that I'll leave you with today has been said to many people, by many people. Once a PC girl, always a PC girl. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing your story and pictures with us. We just have a small gift of thanks.
Larissa Taylor comes from a long line of PC girls, as her great auntie graduated from school in 1927. Following in the family traditions and footsteps her aunties and mum before her, Larissa boarded at PC in the 1980s and graduated in 1985. She was deputy head girl in her final year, and as well as Dux of Humanities. Her daughter Isabel is here at PC today. Larissa's career post-Perth College started in the corporate sector of agricultural banking. and she has subsequently worked in the corporate roles in Canberra, Sydney, Houston, Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, and now back here in Perth. Simone Paree is also a boarder of the class of 1985 and was Bedford House captain in her final year. Simone's mother attended Perth College and graduated in 1957. Simone's daughter Grace graduated last year. Like Larissa, Simone has a very successful career in the corporate sector and is Director of Finance at Steelcat Recruitment. We welcome Larissa and Simone to chat about their boarding experience at PC in the 1980s and the skills those experiences have equipped them with.
What a privilege it has been that we've been asked to actually come here and celebrate 100 years on the Perth College Mount Lawley campus. It only seems like yesterday that we were out there in your shoes.
36 years ago, I first met my incredible friend, Simone, also known as Greenie.
And she's known as Lart, which rhymes with tart.
And other things. Anyway, Simone is also my third cousin, and I'd never met her before, until the day we stood out on the veranda of St Michael's Hall in May 1980, waiting to sit the annual scholarship test. Simone subsequently won the Old Girls Scholarship for our year, and I was fortunate to receive a bursary. We both ended up in the best house, Bedford. And despite that embroidered yellow bridesmaid's dress you made me wear for your wedding, we have been friends ever since.
Mrs. Adele invited us to reflect on what Perth College was like back in the 80s. So, of course, we thought of Come On Eileen, and music. No? Okay. Thanks to PC, we have both many talents which make us remarkable women, some of which we're not going to share with you today, and include things like turning our eyelids inside out and squealing like a bush pig.
When we arrived in Year 8 in 1981 from Mandurah and Tambla, Perth College was a frugally run institution, harking back to an era of conservative education for young ladies. It wasn't so much the progressive inquiring institution concerned with nurturing remarkable, courageous young women that it is now. Our first impressions of the school weren't necessarily that welcoming either. The gardens out the front on Lawley Crescent were slightly dishevelled, and the big quad was a grey, cold concrete box.
Entering the boarding house, like Colleen said, you walked up a great big old dark staircase up into the Year 8 dormitory. And the Year 8 dormitory did have 10 beds, and they were side by side with about that much room in between. You could just walk to your bed. Around the outside of the room we had a cupboard and a chest of drawers, and that was it. So there was no place to go and get changed. There was no modesty. You did everything together. You slept together. You snored together. But it was great. It was very grounding. The blankets within the rooms were freezing in winter, and the beds were saggy, and the food was, well, crap. Just to make you feel really excited about going to the new school, for the first 6 weeks we weren't allowed to speak to our parents at all, no phone calls, because this was supposed to help you settle in.
Needless to say, most of us cried ourselves to sleep every night. In the 80s, no one had personal devices. There were 2 phones in the whole boarding house, and you could only access them after prep for an hour. Your boyfriends had to be really keen to get through. And there was no privacy. Everyone could hear your conversations.
For pocket money, each girl got $25 a term. So you had to ask the mistress if you could use the money and what you were going to use it for. So for an extra special treat, if you happen to have a little bit more money, you would go down to Mount Lawley and get hot chips at Red Rooster. It was a huge treat. There was no grilled girls, no tutti frutti, no gelare.
Just Red Rooster. Weekend activities included lots of sport, lots of sucking on tubes of condensed milk bought at the deli, which is now the development office, and lots of lying around the pool in summer, basting in baby oil to get that melanoma glow.
Which is why we get skin checked every year now. Don't do that. Sundays were luxury, you could sleep in, but chapel was at 8 a.m. and compulsory quarters, of course. You weren't allowed to eat breakfast beforehand, so there was a wonderful cacophony of grumbling stomachs the whole way through the session, which made sacristan taste really good. It was fantastic. And every now and again, just for a special treat, someone would faint.
Don't get us wrong, there was a lot of kindness and a lot of fun. Just occasionally for a special treat, I think Colleen mentioned Nana Mary. She was our favourite kind-hearted house mistress. She used to take her big ring of keys and tiptoe down the stairs after lights out with us, take us to the kitchen, which is still in the same place, and let us into the cold room so we could have a midnight feast of ice cream.
If you wanted to access music, you had to make it yourself. A couple of us had Walkmans, and a few had radios. But most of us loved singing and were involved in one choir or another. We used to sing our hearts out on every trip back from sport to Hotel California by the Eagles. Singing the Borders Choir was a special privilege. It wasn't quite as good as these wonderful girls who got to sing at Westminster Abbey, but we loved singing the Borders Choir because we could sit up in the choir loft, which meant Mr. Ellis, who was a very strict headmaster, couldn't see what we were doing.
His nickname was Elfie, so hiding from Elfie was a special sport. So this was where we started out. It was an environment of educational privilege, and many of the staff were passionate educators. Thanks to them, our start at PC gave us both a love of learning, a zest for life, and an appreciation of how important it is to nurture and give back to community. And this was reinforced by what we learnt from our mums, our aunts, our great aunts. This special culture at PC is what we wanted for our daughters, Grace and Izzy.
Our class of 85 recently had a 30-year reunion, and there's a few of them out there. Among us were lawyers, television producers, entrepreneurs, full-time mums, pharmacists, Defence Force officers. She was one of the really naughty ones. Academics, tertiary administrators, all of us utterly remarkable in our own way because of the choices that we've made.
Perth College gave me the courage to make bold choices, and life is not predictable. My family had a tough time in the mid-80s when my parents divorced and sold our farm, but not before I'd had the chance to work hard over a couple of summers on the farm and save up a fortune, $1,600, and I used it to fund my Indonesia trip in Year 10. The Indonesia trip and the language education for me at Perth College changed my life. I went on to study Asian Studies at ANU and work in roles where I could contribute to Australia's place in Asia. And when I met my French-Canadian husband, I actually had enough confidence to try and speak to him in French, and he didn't hold it against me. So I owe a lot to Perth College. Thank you so much.
After Perth College, I was lucky to receive a Rotary scholarship to Japan, so I spent a year over there and then came back and studied Japanese and economics at UWA. And I think Perth College gave me the confidence to go after what I wanted to, but then later in my life it also gave me the confidence and the ability to adjust to the things that life throws up for you. So after I went to university, my life went off-road for a little bit, and by off-road I mean Menkatharra. I met my husband, who was working in mining, and instead of this career pathway as a corporate woman, I ended up in mining as a site clerk, and we loved it and built a life together. And when we decided to have children, we made the decision for our family that I would be a full-time mother and stay home until the children were in high school. So that's what I did, and it was a great choice for us as a family. And a career choice that I would recommend for anybody. It's very rewarding. Once the children were on their way, as they are now, my husband and I decided to go into business, and we set up a mining recruitment company, and that was a fantastic opportunity to switch the brain back on in a lot of ways, and it was a very steep learning curve and well worthwhile. I'd also recommend going into your own business to all you girls as well. I think it's an extremely rewarding thing to do. We've now just started another business. We've got a tech startup as well, but one of the things really close to me is helping the community and giving back. And one thing I loved about Perth College was netball here, and I know there's a lot of netball players that I've come into contact with. I still continue to coach today because I loved it so much as a student, and so I think it's really important to give back, and I love seeing the girls out there and enjoying themselves as well. I'm still involved as an administrator in netball. I'm the president of the Perth Lions netball region this year, which is bringing me into contact with a whole lot of new athletes and something I love. So Perth College has really not only given me abilities to do things in my personal and professional life, but also as a person who really enjoys giving back to the community. So thank you, Perth College, for that, and I hope you girls will be able to follow on and do that kind of thing in your life as well, whatever makes you happy.
So when we got together on the weekend to reflect on if we could leave one message to you all about what Perth College means to us, it was about giving back, and it was about the values that you leave Perth College with. They are your compass for life, they're your heritage. So hold them dear and go for it.
I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Liz and Simone for bringing your wise words and sharing all your wonderful experiences you had.
My goodness, what a special assembly we've had, and can I thank all of our guest speakers today again for coming here and bravely stepping up on stage to share your memories of Perth College. Can we give them all a round of applause? Girls, and I hope that you understand the legacy our old girls have left us is rich. It's full of excellence, and certainly one that celebrates community and what I believe is living generously, and all of the people here and all the people who have spoken have talked about that. So thank you again for coming and being here with us today. Your pride in being a Perth College girl is so obvious, and the spirit of the school really warms my heart in the way you generated that. I thought it would be really nice to finish our assembly just by asking those families that perhaps have had several generations in their family just to stand. I know it's a little bit embarrassing and we'll look at each other, but do we have any 5-generation families here at the moment? 5 generations? Yep. Colleen, the Johnson family, so that is outstanding. That would have and Amber up the back. Yes, Amber, we won't forget about you. That is outstanding. Can we give a big round of applause for those families? Several 4-generation families, so can we have those 4-generation families stand? Yes? Yep. The Straps, absolutely. The Edgars, yeah, and Jen, etc. So can we please give them a round of applause? And 3 generations. 3 generations, yes, we've got several 3-generation families as well. Congratulations, and that is outstanding. That means if you haven't stood, you are either a 1st or 2nd generation Perth College girl. Can you please stand? If you are the 1st or 2nd person to attend, a member of your family to attend Perth College, I want to say, well done, and thank you. I thank your parents for choosing Perth College, but I hope that this is the start of a family legacy for you, and that this starts a long association with the school, and that you hold fond memories of your time at Perth College to share with your children and to your grandchildren as the years go along. So, as our school song states, can we ensure that we all hold the heritage with care as we move forward? So I'm going to, before we all stand again to sing our school song, which is the one thing that binds us together, I'd like to invite our old girls and their daughters to join with us in a multi-generational photo that we're having out in the big quad. And I would also encourage our old girls that are here that perhaps haven't been back to the school for a while to feel free to wander into classrooms, to wander around the school and have a look and see how it has changed. And as I said before, I encourage our current girls to go into the big quad to have a look at the wonderful pictorial history that you've seen some of today that is now up around the walls. So could we all please stand and sing our school song?